Well, the weather may not look or feel like it today, Evan, but we're halfway through the NFL season here.
It's hard to believe.
The regular season, at least. Patriots, 8 games in. They're 8-0.
Not the Patriots season, just everybody else.
Right. The Patriots, 8 games in, they're 8-0. So we'll go back through some of the best, and I don't want to say worst, because, again, they're 8-0, but the moments of the Patriots start to the season. I'm Alex Barth. He's Evan Lazar. This is the Patriots Press Pass. Let's start as we did after Week 4 when we recapped the first quarter. Your MVP through 8 weeks.
Well, I think there's a lot of options on the defensive side of the ball for MVP.
Yep.
So I don't want to discount anybody, but I think that the whole thing runs through Stephon Gilmore. His ability to just take the opposing team's best wide receiver, or even sometimes the number 2, and they double the. I know they do some different things, but really take the guys, opposing team's best wide receiver, take him out of the game, and let the other 10 guys play everybody else and blitz the quarterback and be aggressive. Having that one guy that can take somebody on an island, it really opens up everything else for everybody else, and the coaching staff can get really creative with how they deploy the other 10 guys. The zero blitzes, the pressures the Patriots have brought in the front 7 to really elevate a front 7 that doesn't necessarily have a premier pass rusher to get after the quarterback. It has a bunch of really good players that fit into the puzzle well. The ability to blitz those guys, the safeties in their play to be aggressive and play the center field and also come down and blitz, do all those types of things. It elevates everybody. It keeps the pecking order, too, at the cornerback position in line. Jonathan Jones can stay in the slot. Jason McCourty and J.C. Jackson take 2s and 3s all game long, and you're not asking them to go above their, kind of pay grade. And Gilmore, I really think the player of the month in October as well.
Sure, I mean,
he's just an easy choice.
You can't go wrong with that pick.
He would be on my short list right now for Defensive Player of the Year in the league. I know he hasn't played in terms of PFF standards quite as well as he did last year when he was the top-graded cornerback in the league, but just from a strategy standpoint, what he brings to the team is it's tremendous.
So like you said, there's a bunch of options on defense. So I'm just going to throw it over to the other side of the ball. I'll give you my offensive MVP, and it's actually going to be Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
I think that
he has really been the one guy.
Right. In a year where the offense has been up and down and guys have come and gone, he's been outstanding. He had the back-to-back 100-yard games a few weeks ago, only second time in his career he's done that.
Yeah.
We've seen him turn into, in the absence of Rob Gronkowski, he's kind of become the Patriots' red zone threat, right? With those catch-and-run plays from 5 to 15 yards out, and I think he's really helped their offense get along, and as Brady welcomes in new receivers, Mohamed Sanu, N'Keal Harry, he's going to continue to need to rely on Julian Edelman, so again, there's a lot of guys on defense, and I kind of want to make sure we touch on a wide range of topics in this video. So we'll say offensive MVP for me is Julian Edelman. I think he's been huge for them.
Can we also talk about the quarterback quickly? Like, you can't not mention Tom Brady.
I wanted to change it up. I went with Tom Brady in Week 4.
Yeah.
I went with Tom Brady in Week 4,
I think
but he's been
the argument for Brady is Brady's been good. Has he been elite? Has he been perfect? No, but he's been really, really good, and he has elevated this offensive line to other levels. This offensive line really, if you had a different quarterback behind it, I think would be an absolute disaster. The team would not be 8-0 if they had another quarterback. So if you replaced Tom Brady with an average NFL quarterback behind this offensive line, with the rotation of weapons they have, with basically no tight end for most of the season, I can't imagine that this offense would be 8th in offensive points per game if you take the defensive touchdowns out of it, and right around the middle of the league in DVOA with the worst quarterback. I think this would be an absolute disaster on offense for a lot of teams.
All right, your biggest surprise, whether it's a player, a play, a game, whatever, the thing that surprised you the most through the first half of the season?
Well, I think that injuries played a big role in this. I'm going negative on the surprise.
Okay. Well, no, because we're doing disappointments next.
You're right. All right, so I won't. I'll go biggest surprise positive. I did it at the 4-game mark. I'm sticking with Jamie Collins.
I mean, it's just, again, an easy one.
I think that the Browns game was maybe his worst game of the year. Not his best effort, which is fine. He's allowed to have a bad game every once in a while. But really just the consistency that I've seen from him this year, if they can get this Jamie Collins all year long, it's just a different player than the first time around. First time around, he was dominant at times. Very, very good player, but there was a lot of peaks and valleys, right? It was a lot of ups and downs. There were games where he was really getting exposed and other games where he looked like an all-pro. This year, he's been really, really consistent, and he's really played his role in the defense very well. Changing week to week game plan wise too, playing on the edge sometimes, playing off the ball linebacker other weeks, and he's really handled it all pretty well, and you got to give kudos to him because right now he's playing well in coverage, he's playing well against the run, and he's rushing the passer really well. He's doing all 3 phases at a high level.
That trade 3 years ago yesterday that they sent him to Cleveland, by the way. Biggest surprise for me, I mean, you gave a player, Brandon Bolden, keeps getting in the end zone, which I love. The biggest overall surprise for me, though, is actually the Jets game, the Monday night game in New York. I'm not surprised that they won, but We thought that was going to be close. The Jets were finally getting healthy. They had Darnold back.
Yeah.
The Patriots were pretty banged up, and we thought,
we should not have thought that game was going to be close.
We did,
that was
remember, we thought it was going to be a test, and then the Patriots just absolutely blew the doors off them. Sam Darnold's numbers, and we heard about how this was the big test for Darnold, and how that could potentially be his arrival to the league. His numbers at home were worse than Luke Falk's on the road against the Patriots. So that game, to me, stands out as, sort of readjusted. I had to refocus how I look at this team a little bit after that game, and that's I think when you start looking at, okay, yes, this defense is the best in the league, but that's when you started looking at them as a generational defense. Biggest disappointment?
The offensive line. It's got to be the offensive line. I know there's a lot of injuries, right? Obviously, David Andrews goes out way before the season. In my eyes, we're well past that. Yeah. Ted Karras is a good player. He's been fine. We're well past David Andrews. The left tackle situation has been an absolute disaster. Isaiah Wynn, a big part of that, too, injury-wise. But just the fact that Dante Scarnecchia himself came out on Monday and just flat out said that they've stunk.
Right.
He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't use the word stunk, but he said we're just flat out not playing well enough right now. I'm not coaching well enough, and we're not doing a good enough job as an offensive line. To hear Scarnecchia say that so bluntly is not surprising because he's a blunt guy. He's an honest dude.
Right.
But at the same time, it really kind of just hones in on the fact that they can't block anybody right now.
Yeah.
At least not successfully, consistently enough. He did mention that early on in games, it feels like, and the tape backs this up for sure, that there are a few good runs early. First quarter, they can break off a few big ones, and then all of a sudden it just goes downhill from there, and they get into a funk is the word that he used. Pass protection-wise, it just hasn't been good either. The Browns game was really probably their worst game of the year in that regard, and it's just, if they're going to want to go where they want to go, it starts up front. They're going to need to be better along the offensive line. Really, that's the only Achilles heel, besides maybe kicker, which we could get into too, that I can really think of for this team right now is blocking. And it's such a big part of the game, but it's also a part of the game that often gets overlooked. And I really think that it's got to be the biggest disappointment right now.
Biggest disappointment for me, and here we go, you're going to roll your eyes at me for being too positive. Yeah. The biggest disappointment for me is that the Bills are still in this thing.
Oh, my
And that
God.
This isn't one of those years.
I think I just took offensive line, so you're like, I have to go with something else.
I mean, that's part of it, but this could have been one of the years where it's fun and the Patriots clinch the division in mid-November and they run away with it.
Yeah.
They already eliminated the Dolphins, the earliest possible date a team could be eliminated. But the Bills are going to hang around, and they're going to make this thing interesting. And I'm not totally disappointed because it's fun to have a divisional race, especially when you're confident in the Patriots' ability to win it. But I'm a little disappointed the Bills are still hanging around.
Why are you disappointed? That's more fun.
I'm a little disappointed the Chiefs are out of it.
The Chiefs aren't out of it.
But
they only have 3 losses.
It's not that.
So you want to know
huge
the
matchup
scary part about
be.
the Chiefs?
What?
The scary part about the Chiefs is that because they've had a couple of these losses, the Chiefs could be coming here in the divisional round with Patrick Mahomes.
That's a fair point. That's
okay. So that's not,
Bills Chiefs wild card round could be one of the best
wild card
games in years.
And then worst comes to worst, the Patriots could be playing Kansas City in the divisional round here at Gillette Stadium.
Although remember,
that's not a great matchup in the divisional round.
Remember, we said that about Pittsburgh a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then they didn't make it.
Right, they didn't make it. But I'm just saying it's not a great matchup to have that early on in the
That's fair. That's fair. All right, coming up. Let's take a look at the next 4 weeks. We've been through the first half here. You've got next 4 weeks for the Patriots. You got the Ravens coming up on Sunday, then the bye, Eagles, Cowboys, and I'm drawing a blank here after that.
I think it's Houston after that.
That's right. It's Houston, Thanksgiving. Yep. So they got the Ravens, the bye, the Eagles, and then 2 Texas teams, Cowboys here, Houston on the road. I remember after the first 4 games, your take was
Houston or Kansas City, which one it is.
But no, it's Houston, Kansas City's first week in December. Your take after the first 4 games was get you to Baker.
Yeah.
You wanted to see that Browns game. You've seen it. Now you've got a decent stretch. What are you thinking for these next 4 games?
This is the meat of the schedule. This is the schedule right here. This is the regular season for the Patriots. The first 8 weeks of the season, the Buffalo game was okay. Other than that, that was pretty shitty.
Sure.
Right? I don't want to play any of those teams ever again this year. All right? The
a
Giants,
couple of them
the Redskins. Yeah, I guess some of the AFC teams, AFC's teams, we're going to have to play again. But the point of the matter is that was like glorified preseason for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Those 8 games were all tune-up games for the next 5. This is where the schedule really gets meaty. And I'm not saying the Patriots are going to lose any of these games or lose all 5 or anything like that. But if you're not careful with these teams, the losses can pile up on them pretty quickly here. So you have to be ready for these opponents. These are real NFL football teams with playoff aspirations, some with Super Bowl aspirations, I would say. And a lot of them are going to be desperate. The Eagles, the Cowboys, those teams are going to be desperate. The Chiefs, when they do get to that point, Patrick Mahomes will probably be back. So that's going to be a big game. The Houston Texans, I love what they're building down there in Houston. So this is a lot. This is this meat of the schedule. This is the hardest part of the schedule. It's also the part of the schedule we've been looking forward to, right?
But then
this
again,
is what we've been waiting for.
We also said that about the Browns.
We did,
And
but
how'd
that
that
was
go?
before the season and before we knew that the Browns were really going to fall
You said
apart.
when we did the quarter way through the season,
I
get me
thought
to Baker.
maybe they could turn it around, and I also like watching Baker.
All right, fair enough. You did hit on it, though, for me. The key is desperation.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much with the Ravens this week, but after the bye, when you get into the Eagles, when you get into the Cowboys, and definitely the Texans, these are teams that could be playing for their season. So you're not just playing good teams. You're playing good teams with their backs up against the wall.
Yeah.
They're going to have the Patriots coming in or going
Are they
to the
going to be
Patriots.
scared, though, Alex? Are they going to be scared?
I don't know. But the Patriots, certainly that bullseye on their back gets a little bit bigger through this stretch. So a very brief recap of the first half of the season for the New England Patriots. Oh, we forgot one more. Close on this. Favorite moment.
Favorite moment? That's a good question. I would say it's got to be one of the defensive touchdowns. I'll go with the most recent one. I'll go with Dante Hightower's return. I just like the fact that the Browns turned over the ball in three
separate plays.
Three straight plays. That was great. Hightower, the boogeyman dance. I mean, all that kind of stuff was a microcosm of the first half, I would say.
I'm actually going to go a little bit bigger picture. My favorite was the boogeyman nickname happening.
I just hope that we don't overdo it. Not the fans, but they're in the stadium. They're playing the music all the time. They put them on the scoreboard. Just don't overdo it.
It came up like right at the beginning of October and spooky season.
No, it was definitely good timing.
I'm interested to see what kind of life it has now post-Halloween.
Yeah.
That's what's going to be interesting. All right, there is your recap of the first 8 weeks of the Patriots season. This edition of Patriots Press Pass has been brought to you by Keeps.com. Visit their website, Keeps.com/garden for your first month free in your fight against hair loss. That's Keeps, KEEPS.com/garden for your first month free. With Evan Lazar, I'm Alex Barth from Gillette Stadium. Thanks for watching.